Hello and welcome to the preview of the Port and Geelong game that's going to happen on the 5th of September in 2024. This video is pretty much going to be coming out the morning of. Now I'll try to keep these videos short, but it's going to be Thursday. The temperature in Adelaide is supposed to get up to a maximum of 27.3 degrees and then quickly drop, which I think is going to add a bit of humidity and slipperiness to the ball. The wind will be coming from the north, so that will actually favour the city end. So I would assume that whoever wins the toss is going to be heading down south towards the city. And the last 2 days, at least here in SA, it has been quite gusty and the wind has been coming from the north. So it does have a little bit of warmth to it, and I guess 27 degrees in September isn't unheard of, but it is a little bit warmer than what most people would expect. So I do expect fatigue to come into play, I guess, in the last quarter. As it's been a warm day, I guess everything's still going to be quite warm at that point, so there'll be a lot of sweating and a lot of fatigue in the last quarter. Port Adelaide are favourites. They are expected to win by 15 points, and the total score is expected to be 166 points, which, as you probably know from previous finals series, that this is typically not the case. Finals are typically a lower scoring game as it's a high contested footy game, but you never know. So for Port Adelaide to win, I think, I guess at home is definitely a massive help as they have won 8 wins and 4 losses when they play at home. The median winning margin when they play at home is 21 points. And Port Adelaide tagger, I think William Drew is going to have a pretty big role. Ken Hinkley said he will be tagging someone, but we don't know who. Will it be Dangerfield? Will it be Holmes? Will it be Tanner Bruin? I don't know. I think it's going to be Dangerfield. I guess he probably can have the most impact on the game, even for not having a huge amount of disposals. I guess just the way he plays. So yeah, I'll probably expect Willem Drew to go to Dangerfield. Port have played Cats this year in round 9, and they won by 6 points, and that was at GMHBA Stadium. Port have lost Kane Farrell and Dan Houston to injury and suspension, of course. So who fills that spot in defence? Who's going to be that kick-in spot? Will we see Darcy Byrne-Jones go back in the defensive line instead of being a forward? Will Jace Burgoyne take the kick-in, or possibly Logan Evans? I don't entirely know. I think last week, well not last week, they had a bye, but the last game they played, Logan Evans went back to take the kick-in after Kane Farrell had the injury, so he may be pushed back. Either of those options, I think they're all fairly small and a small body. So I think the forwards of Geelong should exploit that as much as they can if they want to get the win. For Port to win, I think Jason Horne-Francis, Butters and Wines and Connor Rosie all have to have massive games in the midfield. I feel like if they dominate that midfield, which I know that's probably a pretty stupid thing to say, but if they can just be dominant and deny Geelong any of the ball, any major clearances, then I think they will definitely win. I think there's a massive worry for Port Adelaide in the defensive line. They don't have 2 of their key backs. They also have Aliir, Brandon Zerk-Thatcher and Asava Radicalia, who I honestly do not rate. I think that they don't have the skill set to hit a target very often. They seem to kick to an area rather than trying to pinpoint a defender. And I guess that could be a downfall for them, that I guess Geelong should really try and pressure those, get them to kick, because they just cannot kick. I think Port Adelaide shouldn't bomb it long because people like Blitzarves, Stewart will just swallow that ball up. So I don't think Port can bomb it long and just hope for a mark from Georgiades. I think Marshalls had been left out of the squad, or he's an emergency. I think they have to pinpoint the target on the lead and hit them lace out. Otherwise, the defence and rebound from Geelong will hurt them. So because Port have a few players that have come out, we've got Charlie Dixon and Quinton Narkle who have come in to fill the spots. Narkle's obviously been that sub for pretty much the whole year. Charlie Dixon is basically a grandpa. Can his body keep up for a full final series? It might be able to do it for a game. I'd love for him to prove me wrong because I love the way he plays, but I think he's just too old and too slow. So yeah, for me, for Port, I think that it has to be Connor Rosie, Jason Horne-Francis and Butters. Possibly Wines as well, who is going to be the midfield that wins the game for Port Adelaide. I think they all have to contribute decent numbers, 20 plus, and I also think they have to provide a few goals because Port Adelaide have Georgiades, but for some reason they always just seem to kick it on top of his head instead of in front of him. They don't have Marshall. They've got Dixon, who's old and slow, a brute. He can do it. Will he do it? I don't know. Now for Geelong, I think they are a decent team. I think their midfield is lacking, their defence is great, but their forward line is lacking as well. So they've actually played twice at Adelaide Oval. Once was against the Adelaide Crows, and the other was against Bulldogs in the Gather Round. And they won both of those games at Adelaide Oval, so they can win on the road. So Geelong average 179.5 points, whereas Port Adelaide 164. So they are kicking more points, and their defense is obviously their key to winning games. Players like Marshall, Guthrie and so on, and their defense is only allowing 75.6 points since round 16. So if the defense can deny Port Adelaide, then they have a massive shot at kicking goals down the other end. But that is another thing that I think is lacking with Geelong at the moment, is who's going to help Cameron in the forward line. He's obviously kicked 9 goals last time he played, but that was against West Coast Eagles. Who's going to help him in the front line? Tyson Stengel. He's probably good for a goal or 2, possibly 3 if he's playing at his prime. But for Geelong to win, he definitely needs some massive help in the forward line, with the midfielders probably contributing for a couple goals. But you can't all just rely on Jeremy Cameron to win you the game. I think players like Ollie Dempsey and Brian Myers are going to have to play massive games as that continuum, that I guess conduit from the midfield to the wing to the forward line, possibly kick a goal or 2 themselves and help Jeremy Cameron out. Same as Max Holmes, kicking a goal or 2 would definitely help Geelong. But ultimately, I just don't think Geelong have the firepower to keep up with Port Adelaide. I think Port will kill them in the midfield, and then Port Adelaide's forward line will do okay, but it's the midfield, I think, that for Port Adelaide will win the game. And I guess I'm probably going to take Port Adelaide, and I would say that the game is going to be under that 166 points. I would imagine it's most likely going to be under 150. I would imagine it's a highly contested game that's going to be won in the midfield, at least for me, and I have been wrong many times before. I just don't see how this game is going to be a shootout, because Georgiades and Dixon, just not massive goal scorers, and then Cameron's probably the only massive goal scorer, but he's got no help. So for me, I think Port Adelaide will win by at least 3 goals, and I think the score will be under 150 points in a pretty highly contested game. It'll be an okay one to watch, I think. I don't think it's going to be a very entertaining game. I think there's going to be plenty of stoppages, but whoever wins has a very good chance at winning the premiership this year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.